So last week, my usual D&D session got canceled. A few of my players couldn't make it, and the worst possible scenario happened because I wasn't told until the morning of. But I woke up that morning and I said, by God, I'm going to play D&D tonight. There was still like 3 to 4 remaining players that were still committed to playing D&D that night. So I said, by God, I'm going to play D&D. I'm going to run D&D no matter what today. So I said, screw it, I'm going to run a one shot. But if I'm going to run a one shot, I'm going to need some help. I didn't have any ideas, and the last minute panic wasn't really helping at all. So I scoured the internet, and I believe I have found the easiest, fun D&D one shot that's completely free that I'm going to share with you today. The name of the one shot is A Wild Sheep Chase by Winghorn Press. This video isn't sponsored or anything, but I'll leave a link to it down below because it's free, or you can pay as much as you want. We're going to be talking about the premise, we're going to talk about the encounters, what I liked and didn't like about it, and finally we're going to ask the question, is it really that easy to run? So let's get started. So this adventure, as written, is meant for parties levels 4 to 5, but for my game specifically, my players were level 6 at the time, so I just let them use their character sheets and changed everything to level 6. But overall, the premise is the same. The game starts when the party has some downtime, and for one reason or another, the party is approached by an out-of-control, anxious sheep. And when the party meets the sheep for the very first time, the sheep is holding what appears to be a scroll of Speak with Animals. And the party, curious as they are, they see the scroll and use it on the sheep and begin to converse with it. And they realize that this is not a wild mammal with rabies. It is actually a highly functioning, highly intelligent wizard. Apparently, this wizard was true polymorphed by their apprentice, who's gone corrupt with power. And it's up to the party to go on this adventure and change the wizard back to normal. So that was the premise, and let's talk about the possible encounters. So as written, there are 2 to 3 possible encounters that your party will face. The first is a initial encounter between the party and the goons of the wizard's apprentice. The apprentice sent goons to chase after the sheep under the premise of taking it back to the farm. The second encounter is a battle that happens right outside of the wizard's tower. The wizard's apprentice turned all of the guards into its own animal kingdom, and they are protecting the wizard tower from any invaders. And the third encounter is our final confrontation between the party and the wizard apprentice. I say this is possible because there could be a phase 2 to this encounter. I'm not going to go into the stat blocks or how to run these creatures, but the idea is pretty simple. You have the initial encounter where you have goons that are trying to take the sheep when the players are essentially encouraged to trust the sheep and defend them. Then you have the possible outside encounter where you're fighting the apprentice's guards. And then finally, you have the final confrontation, the boss battle between the party and the wizard apprentice. So let's talk about the pros and cons. What do I like about it and what do I not? The first thing is it is very straightforward. And I think that's really good for a one-shot. And characters are clearly good and bad. The only one that's kind of in between is the initial sheep, the wizard that you're trying to save. He comes off as pretty much kind of like a self-entitled, high noble born that doesn't really take too kindly to the simple life of adventuring. But other than that, each NPC is pretty much designated for 1 or 2 things. Another thing that I like about it is that because this sheep is telling the players exactly what is going on, what is the layout of his wizard tower, it gives the players the freedom to choose to be stealthy or just charge right in and attack. It also encourages puns if you're into that type of thing. Even though this game is meant for player characters levels 4 to 5, I like how this game doesn't really shy away from high-level spells like True Polymorph. Also, when you download the PDF, it also comes with a map that's pretty easy to print out or import it into your favorite VTT. So what do I not like about it? For me, when it comes to one-shots, you really have to find the balance between trying to find something that is straightforward and something that is combat heavy. And this one-shot leans more into the combat heavy side. I wish there was like 1 or 2 things, like a trap or a puzzle that can spice things up. But when I ran the session, it was just combat, 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 all over until the very, very end. I know this is written for parties levels 4 to 5, but I wish the boss, the Wizard's Apprentice, had some sort of legendary actions, but even then, this can be fixed with some homebrew or maybe even adding on a few different creatures. And the minor thing I don't like about it is I wish the reward was more clear. After your party complete the quest, the reward as written is essentially 1,000 gold pieces along with enchantments up to a 5th level. And a 5th level transmutation spell does sound a little bit vague to me. Like, is that supposed to be a magic item? Is that supposed to be like some sort of blessing or whatnot? I get the sense that it's meant to be open-ended, and because it's a one-shot and you don't know if this is going to be incorporated in anything, that somebody is just wanting to give 1,000 gold and whatever. But I do wish it was more thematic, like maybe a fixed version of Wand of Polymorph or whatever. So in conclusion, is it easy to run? I say yes, because it is combat heavy and the plot is very straightforward, and on top of that, it has some humor in it. But honestly, this can be too easy for players. This can be fixed with a few things. This can be fixed with homebrew, this can be fixed by adding more minions, this can even be fixed by changing the layout of your wizard tower to become more like a dungeon. And speaking of dungeons, if you're looking for how to improve your D&D dungeons, be sure to check out this video over here on how to make your dungeons better. I hope you guys have a fantastic day, and I will see you in the next video.